Hello. Today in Evolving Democracy, we are talking about reclaiming power. I'm Tony Miller. I'm here with my dear friend Christy. And we're not just talking about political power. Of course, that is on our minds, but we're also talking about personal power. And this topic came up for us because there's been so much in the media we consume anyway about the Democrats in disarray, the Democrats fighting with each other. And we were both listening, I think it was Monday night. Historian Joanne Freeman was talking about this sense of being in being in disarray. And her point was that, y'all, we got to get together here and fight the good fight. And all this infighting is not helping anything. What do you think, Christy?
Well, infighting never helps you come together and be unified and do something as a greater force. It keeps you fractured and keeps you separate, which is exactly what the regime would like because that disempowers you. So they would love for this to go on. And the fact of the matter is the media has a bias. First of all, it wants to report things that are dramatic and compelling and perhaps hate mongering or fear mongering. And so this is really compelling for them to talk about, oh, those Democrats, they're in disarray, versus looking where there is cohesion, where there is coming together, where there are things that are positive. I mean, there have been entire things like the Good News Network. Why was that spawned? Because so much of news was bad. So there's the aspect of there is some disagreement stuff going on, but there's also this amplification effect as well. So those two things are both making it seem like, oh, doomsday, oh my gosh, here we go, we're never going to win, which is exactly how they want us to be fractured and separated from our power.
Right. And when we were talking about it, when we were a couple days ago, when we were doing our pre-live discussion, we were talking about the sense of when you get down into policy issues, of course there are going to be disputes because that's the nitty gritty, that's the nuts and bolts. But when you're looking at the higher level, I think there's a lot of agreement. And if we can focus on where we are in agreement, the things, the world we want to see, which is healthcare, which is childcare, which is affordable living, which is good paying jobs. We want people to be able to live in this world, in this country, and have more than the basic necessities. But at this point, let's shoot for the basic necessities because there are so many who don't have even that.
And listening to Joanne Freeman's thoughts for those who can't sleep last night, she panned it out even farther. Like we're unified by the fact that we believe in the Constitution. Oh, and we believe in the rule of law. Oh, isn't that? I mean, this didn't used to be a novel thing. It used to be like, well, everyone believes in the rule of law, but that's become something that's unifying now. And diversity. Those three things pan it out even farther, and you don't have to debate how what do we do with the Constitution? We honor it. What do we do with the rule of law? We follow it. What do we do with diversity? We invite it. Like this is so much bigger than these little differences that are on the scale that maybe seems really important, but when you pan out, it's just so much smaller. Who cares? Like this is the reclaiming power idea. This is why we talked about it when we were talking. Johnny's like, but first we have to reclaim power. What are the Democrats going to do? They can't do much until we reclaim power. They're like over and over and over. Let's reclaim it and be back where we have a say, where we have an influence, where we can restore these basic things. And then we can debate exactly how we do the executing of these specific topics, these specific things that people are concerned about. Because we can't do that. I mean, we've spent so much energy in the last, what's it been, 19 months or something, going, why isn't somebody doing something? Well, because the people that can do something have opted out, and the people who really, really want to do something are not in power. Reclaiming power. Like, this is sort of the hypnotic suggestion. Like, we need to have repeated over and over of let's get back in power, let's get back in power, let's get whatever it takes to come together to restore the fundamental structure and belief system of this country, which is this thing they have already written called the Constitution.
Well, another part of this is listening to the voters. You know, some of the conflicts that Christy and I saw were between what they would call the progressive wing of the Democratic Party and the more mainstream wing. But who's listening to the voters? You know, if the voters are saying, this is what I want, this is what is inspiring me, then it's not pandering, it's listening. And what are the concerns under there? Now, I listen to Sarah Longwell of The Bulwark, who does these focus groups. And sometimes it's hard. I don't know how she does it. It's hard to listen to what people are saying, because sometimes what gets me going is sometimes you hear the talking points, but when you get underneath the talking points, you can hear voters saying what their real concerns are. And we probably all would be able to say, well, that's a talking point. What is the person's real lived experience? And listening to lived experience and what does someone want? And there's far more agreement about what individual people want than there is about, you know, what we do with immigration or what we do with healthcare. But at an individual level, at a human level, it goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. People want to be safe. People want to have their physical needs met. People want to have their emotional needs met. People want community. They want love. They want to be able to thrive. They want to be able to grow into all that they want to be, that all that they can be. This sense of, I am not just a human being trudging from day to day. That's not inspirational. But being able to believe in what you're doing, to be able to believe in the higher purpose, that's what I think we have in common with every human. And what happens is that when you just start talking policy, then you're going to have this fighting, this disagreement. But when you go underneath or you go above, then there is a lot of agreement and it's inspirational.
And the humanity piece of it, I have a cat leaving my lap. The humanity piece of it is really key here, because Joanne Freeman was talking about this in the broadcast last night as well. There are some really gross, obvious examples of how this regime is dehumanizing people. One, obviously, the ICE agents supposedly looking into getting gloves that can shock people when they grab them. The decoy plane, where we throw people on a plane and have them possibly get shot out of the sky instead of the president. And then finally, the third one was the sailors trying to jump off the USS Abraham Lincoln. This is just their disregard for humans, and this is where pretty much anyone, but definitely the Democrats and the left, can come together and say, we value human lives. What is more unifying than we are humans here together? Can we come together and be as peaceful as possible? In the comments, lots of comments here. The thing about the Islamophobia that's coming up now as well, you know, the whole let's hate the immigrants thing wasn't working for them. They weren't getting enough traction from it. Oh, so let's hate Islamic people because that traditionally has been better for churning up hate and fear. And so again, resisting the temptation to be drawn into their fear mongering, hate mongering, whatever, and just keep saying, we're all humans. We all want the same thing. We're all looking towards a skyline where it's very different than looking at one where people are just going to be killing each other and creating strife and repeating the same patterns that humanity's fallen into over these millennia. This is an opportunity for us to say, no, humankind is more important than the corruption, greed, etc. These humans matter. I mean, these sailors, they're Americans that are there to help our country. Like, this is off the hook crazy where we've landed. But love is indeed the answer. More love, more compassion, more coming together, more realizing that we all belong here, that we all have something to contribute, that we all have a voice, that we all can be part of this transformation.
And if you think about this fear, if you think about the fear mongering, and you think about what fear and what these so called negative emotions do in your own body, in your own life, they keep you still. Depression is something that you don't move, but positive emotions, love, joy, happiness, compassion, those are things that move you out from where you are and move you towards something else. So we want to promote the positive emotions. And what's his name? Scott Nakagawa of the Anti-Authorian Playbook on Monday had this excellent piece where it was talking about political movements across several decades around the world that have been successful. And one of the ones that he really was talking about was the anti-Pinochet movement in Chile, where they were focused on joy, that that it was, what do we want to see? We want joy. We want life. We want all of these things that make living worthwhile. And of course, they did it for 3 years, and we don't even have 3 months. But we can still harness that kind of energy, that kind of sense of love, of joy, of what do we want. It's not what we don't want, but you always have to know what to push against, but you have to know what you're going for. And what we are going for is this sense where everyone's treated fairly, where this sense that there is life for everyone. Now, we can debate who belongs here and who doesn't, but we shouldn't be able to debate whether someone's life has value, even the people we dislike. Every life has value.
Right. This is human rights. Rights. This is God given. This is innate. This is something that every human should have. There shouldn't be people in subhuman conditions in detention centers. There shouldn't be humans in subhuman conditions on ships. This is our basic rights that need to be honored here. And the thing is, I find it really interesting, like the 3-year idea. We have learned in the last year and a half or so that things can happen very quickly.
Mm.
So why can't we also make things happen very quickly when we're strongly motivated, when we have a sense of we're all heading towards something we really, really want, versus trying to break things down and destroy. We have so much more power and so much more potential speed, I think, than
Mm.
we sometimes give ourselves credit for. That we look at the past history and we're like, oh no, it's got to take decades, or it's got to take. What if it doesn't? What if this is the opportunity to do some sort of accelerated? I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you look at how the spread is starting to increase between the Republicans and Democratic candidates, we already have an example for how things can move more quickly and more extremely than we expected. So if we keep leveraging that, hopefully by the time we're having these conversations, the week of November, whatever, the first Tuesday is, November 3rd, I think it is, we will be like, yes, see, aha, we knew it would happen.
And that reminds me of something else I heard this week. It was a Harvard psychologist and the research that she's done about belief and time. And I won't go into it. It's fascinating though. But what she found was that if in their research, if you double the time and you make the clock go faster, healing occurs faster because it's our belief of time that influences the outcome. Fascinating stuff. But what Christy said is the same thing. We can believe it doesn't need to take 3 years. We can believe that the forces that are moving on our side are coming together. They're coalescing, and as they coalesce around both these ideas underneath the concern and these ideas above, coalescing here, not worrying about all the middle stuff. And we can become this force, a force for good, a force for the force of nature, that we can do this, believing and focusing on love, focusing on these positive emotions, these positive outcomes that we really want to see in this country, in this world, in our own lives.
Exactly. This is the power of belief is so strong, which is why part of why I get like sort of revved up when people are like, it's all over, doom, blah, 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 because you start believing it and you buy into it and you think, oh, yeah, this is really true. It's so funny about time, too. Like, a funny personal example this morning, we woke up and it was like, oh, it's 10 till 5. I'm not sure whether we want to get up or not. My husband goes to the bathroom, he comes back and he's like, it's actually 5:36. Like, what? We had a power outage. So I'm totally believing it's 10 till 5 and our clock is wrong. But we're totally believing it because that's the authority. Like we buy into that being true. But what if it's not true? I always love to sort of push the boundaries of, is that true or not true? Like, do we really not have enough time or do we have plenty of time? That it's just a matter of finding the right levers to push, finding the right people to hear, doing something that's very different than what we've done before. You know, if you think about having somebody vote who voted for he who shall not be named before, and that's 1 point in that category. If they don't vote at all, then they lose 1 point. But if they vote the other way, they lose 2 points, basically. So can we continue to move that needle and keep moving those people who might not have voted before or who voted in a way that they're now regretting, and just keep this momentum going with this? I know both of us are very aspirational and very much positive thinking kind of people. But what if that positive thinking becomes reality? Like that really is doable and it's not just dreaming that it's possible. No, what if, like, let's do this in a real solid, concrete way that then we can say, I told you so, in the best possible way.
Well, it also helps to remember that everything that has happened, every product ever created, started with a vision. It started with what if? What if this is possible? And what if this is possible? It is possible. Of
It
course it's
is.
possible.
Right. It's probable. It's happening. And it's sort of, we're just sort of in there like, keep the faith, keep going. We've got this. Why do we not, believe? Because there is this mindset or internal set point of negativity being the thing we focus on most. And so can we continue to say, oh, but look, there's also this great stuff. There's also this encouraging thing that we're seeing. There's also, I mean, a lot of these candidates are amazing and inordinately brave from my perspective, because you're putting yourself out there during a time of extreme chaos, extreme conflict, even some violence, and you're willing to go out and put yourself on the line. That to me is profound, that they're willing to do that. So that level of bravery is what we need in this time. We want those fighters. We want those people who are saying, let's reclaim power, which is our theme, of course, for today. Let's move back into a position where we can make a difference, where we're no longer, oh, let's reach across the aisle, where no one's saying, no one's coming together. Like there's no point reaching across that aisle because nothing's happening.
Well, and the younger people who are getting into politics, the younger people who are getting motivated to help, have new ideas. They did not grow up. The Christy and I are the same age. The way we did, where there was this reaching across the aisle, there was the fact that Republicans and Democrats became friends. Uh, there may still be some of that going on behind the scenes, but in front of the cameras, there's just animosity. And the let's do things the way we've always done them is a ridiculous way of looking at it. These times call for every idea possible. And the ideas might not stick, they might not ultimately be good, but every idea that gets bubbled up is something that may be the way forward. Now, if you think about medical research, if you think about all the things across the history of humanity where it just was sounded crazy perhaps to the people who were listening because they had looked at it from the same way for so long. But someone else coming in new is looking at it a different way and going, I didn't that's not how I see it. There may be a different way. We need 10 billion different ways. And when we get into the policy, when we get back into power and are able to debate, just that brainstorming lets us let the best ideas bubble up to the surface, not the way we've always done it. Something new, something better, something that lives up to the ideals that are contained in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. We've never been there before in this country, and let's get there.
Agreed. And that brings me to one of the comments that was made a while ago, about the establishment Democrats not listening or not being willing to adapt. I would love to see our new establishment, so to speak, to be one of more fluidity, one of more flexibility, one of more, we know we can't lock into something and stay on it forever. We know we need to grow and evolve. This has really become very evident now that sticking with the same thing doesn't help. Ultimately, we grow and evolve. Our world grows and evolves. Why would you have something that's so rigid and so fixed? Well, because it's benefiting those people. And so to keep that movement in there, I think is really a good aspiration for us. Obviously, that's after reclaiming power, but so that we can be an organism that is adaptable and flexible and meets the current needs, the needs of the moment, where we're not talking about stagecoaches. We're talking about whatever's going on now. It's pretty amazing to me in a lot of ways that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence they were done so long ago, and yet they're so applicable. They had no idea where we would be today in terms of our technology and so on, and yet they were fundamentally based on human principles. Those things should be rock solid, but then how we do it and how we adapt and how we find our way through, to me, should be this living, breathing, ever-changing kind of thing, instead of the establishment going, but this is the way we've always done it. And it's not working anymore. So wake up, because it's time to do something new, no matter how old you are. And if you're so rigid that you can't deal with it, go. Be free. Go retire somewhere. Take all your big money, your big healthcare, and you go quietly be somewhere on the beach. The rest of us are going to be in here figuring out how to create a better future for everyone and to be together in unity, not uniformity where we're all exactly the same and we're these little soldiers, but where we have this greater vision, this greater idea of what it's like to be human, what it means to be connected, what it means to transcend that fear, the hate, the division. This is Aspirational times.
Yeah, well, and we're talking not just about how the Democrats retake power, but our own personal power, our own agency in this. And psychologically speaking, resilience, being able to bounce back from whatever life hands you, is one of the most critical factors that humans have to have a life that is thriving and healthy. So think about our resilience now. That, yeah, we can be beaten down, but we rise again. We rise like the phoenix. We rise from the ashes, and there is not ashes now. I remember a while ago, Heather Cox Richardson was talking about what her worst scenario were in her mind, uh, starting early on in his administration. And she said they didn't come true because of the people, because the people rose up and said, "Not on my watch." And someone said in the comments earlier about the creative signs, the humorous signs that were on the protests. Humor and satire is one of the most effective tools we have against authoritarians, against dictators, because they can't take a joke. So the
No, they
fact
don't even see it as a joke.
Right. So that sense of joy, that sense of possibility, the sense of humor, the fact that we can have joy in this moment is an effective form of resistance.
I do love joy as a form of resistance, and it's something they can't take from us. This is something that's internal. We can decide what our own internal experience is. We can decide what our thoughts drive. We're always feeling our thinking. We're always thinking about our feelings. The more we can find ways to transcend this, it's sort of a nanner, nanner, nanner. Like you're not going to pull me into that really fear-mongering place where we collapse. It's sort of what you said before, where we fall inside of ourselves and go, oh, I can't do anything. It's like, well, what can you do? Can you laugh? Can you be free? Can you protest? Can you speak up? Can you find some way to be joyful, whether it has anything to do with what's going on politically or not? I love it, those nights when Heather Cox Richardson's like, yep, not happening today. And there's a beautiful picture of the ocean. It's like, right, there's always beauty. There's always awe. There's always wonder. There's always something we can do to relieve our nervous systems, to come back and rejoin the fray when we're ready, and just be elevated beyond this really awful experience, which will not last. It is this too shall pass.
Yes. The only way out is through, but our through can be filled with flowers along the side of the road, flowers sticking up through the break.
Concrete.
So we can find the beauty, we can find the joy, and keep creating love. Love for ourselves, love for others, and love for this country. This country, the love for what we've never lived up to, but what we could yet be. And let us feel that love, because the more we do that, it does calm our nervous system, but it goes beyond us. We interact with other people differently when we're in a place of love. And that love ripples outward and can help create this country, this world that we've been talking about.
And that we want to experience ourselves. Like this is for all of humanity, but it's for each of humanity as well. Like it's not like it's going to bypass any individual if they're open to this being possible for them. The power of love to transform. It seems, oh, this is wishy-washy, just send some love and prayers. But no, if you're genuinely in your heart space and you're genuinely loving of others, this really does transform you and the people that you're loving and including in your circle and of love being so much broader than the people you know, just radiating out. It's like a meta prayer for those who don't know that. You pray for yourself, you pray for someone else, you pray for the larger, collective. It's bringing us something that cannot cannot be stopped. It becomes this very catalytically driven wave of change, which is what we really want. This change of love, this change of transforming what has been hard into something that's really beautiful.
Yes. And with that, let's turn our love into action together.
Together. Thanks for coming. See you all.